So joining me now is expert analyst Dan Hardy. Dan, another historic event for the UFC.
Yeah, you know, it's about time the Octagon went to the Netherlands. They've contributed so much to combat sports in the past. Obviously fighters that we grew up watching, guys like Ernesto Hoost and Semi Schilt, UFC veteran, my favourite, Ramon Dekkers, and obviously Bas Rutten as well. There's been such a contribution from the Netherlands, it only makes sense for the Octagon to go there and put on a big show.
Let's start our examination of this by first taking a look at the tail of the tape. And from the experience of seeing these guys over the years, Dan, I mean, look at this record, 55 fights in just mixed martial arts alone. Arlovski's had a couple himself. How do these heavyweights who take such big shots against such high-level opposition keep going on for so long?
You know, we don't see it in any other division other than heavyweight, and I think it's because experience plays such a factor later on in their careers. You know, you've got to think that the margin for error in these fights is so much more narrow than the lighter weight classes, because it can only take one punch to change the whole fight. So a lot of these guys, they rely on that experience that they've got fighting at the high level for so long to choose their moments to throw shots and know when to take risks and know when to hold back. So, you know, guys with this much experience, obviously they've been around the block a few times, they've seen everything, and these guys know each other very well as well.
So physically, Overeem is the bigger fighter. Is there anything we can read into this?
Not really. I mean, a 3-inch reach advantage may be useful, and there's going to be a slight weight advantage as well for him, but Arlovski's used to fighting bigger guys. You know, he's been in the heavyweight division a long time, and he's pretty much fought everybody there is to fight. So he's never been out-muscled, he's never been beaten by the bigger man, you know, by size alone. So I don't think it makes a big difference in this fight.
Well, this is a unique matchup with two teammates fighting one another. Arlovski has gone on a record to say that it was very much Overeem that instigated this. Overeem, on the other hand, well, he believes that they've been on an unavoidable collision course.
First of all, I did not call him out. I've actually never spoken to Joe Silva in my life, so I do not know where he's based that on. That's outright lie. We shouldn't be surprised. I mean, he's a top 5 heavyweight, I'm a top 5 heavyweight. The fight was gonna materialize at some point. For me, it's pure business. I want to become the champion, and to become the champion, you need to be willing to face anybody. We're teammates, we're not friends, we're not enemies, and that's how I approach this. Greg Jackson is always still my main coach. He's a great guy. He's going to be coaching Andrei. I totally respect his decision to do that, and Wink will also be cornering Andrei's corner. But I work with a lot of coaches. A lot of coaches I fly in and we work on specific little things. There's going to be plenty of stuff that Coach Greg, Coach Wink, and Andrei Arlovski has not seen. Of course, they're going to do their best to game plan against me, but afterwards we'll all be together and it's just going to be good people. Andrei is still a very dangerous fighter. He has very dangerous hands, and I know he's very focused. He really wants to win this fight. I expect him to come out with new energy, new strategy, and I'm going to be focused on me instead of what he's going to do too much. I'm more athletic, I have more experience in striking.
Oh, goodness! Alistair Overeem by TKO!
I have more fights under my belt. I've dedicated my life to getting this title. I'm going to take this victory.
Well, Dan, I wish I was a bit more laid back like Alistair Overeem. This is a really weird situation. I know that Jacksons have been through this before, but let's reference this one specifically now. So your teammates and your coaches are in the opposite corner.
Yeah, it's got to be strange. I mean, Arlovski's been there a lot longer, so it makes sense for Jackson and Winklejohn to corner him. I mean, just through loyalty alone. But it's got to be strange from Alistair Overeem's perspective, because he's been working with those coaches in previous fights. So
they're game playing against him.
Of course, they know him. They know how well he works. They know his errors. They know his mistakes and his holes in his game. And it's their duty to train Andrei Arlovski as well as they can. And that has to, in some way, be, you know, kind of telling on Overeem and what his mistakes are.
Let's take a look at the stats then. The stuff that we actually know about rather than the speculation. Alistair Overeem, throughout his career in Pride, Strikeforce and the UFC, has shown that he is a well-rounded fighter, although these days we see much more of his striking.
Yeah, well, we all know him as a kickboxer. We all know him as a very high-level heavyweight kickboxer. And if you look through his stats, I mean, number 1 in heavyweight history for significant strike accuracy. So that just shows you how good he is, how accurate he is at placing his shots and getting those finishes. 31 first-round finishes as well. You know, you can't count this guy out at any point in the fight, but there's no doubt in that first round he's the most dangerous. And the guys he's beaten as well, I mean, his win over Dos Santos was a very strategic battle where he basically controlled the range for the whole fight until Dos Santos started to get frustrated and exposed himself. Then he stepped in with that big left hook. He did the same thing with Nelson. He focused on the body of Nelson, wore him down with knees and kicks. So he's got a very strategic mindset when it comes to the striking game, but we also can't count out the submissions. I mean, he had that run where he started catching everybody in guillotines all of a sudden. So there are a lot of different elements to his game that we can't discount.
Yeah, coming in with a lot of momentum. Well, let's take a listen to the other side of the story then. And angry Arlovski believes that Overeem has asked for this fight. Let's hear what he's got to say about it.
I have no idea why Overeem chose me. I didn't ask for that fight. It was total up to Overeem and the UFC. I know Overeem called Joe Silva and back for this fight, so he got that fight, and we're gonna face each other on May 8th. I know for the fact Overeem, because of that, put Greg Jackson and Michael Winkeljohn on the spot. For sure, they were not happy about that. Technically, I'm a teammate with Overeem, but nothing more. I think I'm better than Alistair Overeem because, first of all, I didn't ask for that fight, and secondly, I have a great coach on my side. Alistair, he's an explosive fighter, he's a really good striker. I know now he works some takedowns, he's wrestling coach. I have to be ready for everything. I don't want any surprise. No doubt I have more heart than Overeem. I don't need to show anything to the world, and I don't need to prove anyone. I just need to get victory over Overeem for myself, for my coaches, for my fans. And I want to so bad fight for the title, and I want to so bad to be a champion again. But for me, it's more important right now to beat Overeem. And I can wait for the title. I don't care. I just want to knock his ass out.
Well, firstly, Dan, I'm pretty happy that I wasn't the guy sitting opposite Arlovski asking those questions. He's a little unhappy with this situation, it would seem.
Yeah.
But he does have what he wants. He's got his coaches in his corner, and it sounds like the gym is running on his timetable.
Yeah, the energy in the interview was very different to the Overeem one. And I have to, just through that interview alone, I have to kind of get the feeling that the whole team feel as if Overeem called for this fight, almost like he stepped into the gym, saw his next potential win, and then asked for that fight immediately.
And he's therefore put them all in a bad situation. It's
a very awkward situation that all the coaches are now in, and then you've got to ask questions about how that is going to be after this fight's passed, and Overeem's going to try and go back to that gym. But, you know, it's one of those things. You know, this is what we love about mixed martial arts, these interesting situations that arise.
But Dana's actually okay with this kind of thing, isn't he? He's come out in support of fighters from the same team competing against one another.
Yeah, well, Dana's very much of the opinion that it is an individual sport, and much like boxers do, they prepare on their own with the team around them. They bring their sparring partners in. From my experience, this is a very different sport, though, and we do need bodies around us all the time because we have the grappling element to take into consideration, the drilling of the techniques and stuff like that. So we need more sparring partners around us all the time. So it's a different way of preparing for fights, and you've got to think two elite heavyweights in the same gym, they're bound to train together at some point.
Yeah, of course. Okay, well, let's get on to the stats then for Mr. Arlovski, and he does have a very, very impressive set of credentials, the former UFC heavyweight champion.
Yeah, far more predominantly a striker though, if we're looking at the stats alone. But one thing that is interesting as well, I mean, we know he's got submissions from his Sambo days. We've seen him use footlocks and things in the past, but 88% takedown defense, top at the heavyweight history. That's going to stand him in good stead, especially because he knows that Overeem's been working on wrestling, given the fact that there's been discussions between coaches and stuff. So that, again, highlights that dynamic in the training camp.
He obviously did lose his last fight against Miocic, but Miocic on the back of that has now earned himself a title shot. But he's taken some big names in that lead up to that fight.
Most definitely, and I mean the Brown fight stands out for me. What a fight that was. We'll look at that in a little while. But Frank Mir, former UFC champion, Bigfoot, obviously a contender, has been around for a long time as well. And you've got to think that all of these heavyweights are so closely matched. Any one of these three really, obviously Brandon Schaub's retired, but of the other guys on the list, any of those guys could step up, win 2 fights, and be lined up for a title shot. And the Miocic loss may look like a setback, but if Miocic goes on to beat Verdum in his next fight,
he looks really good.
He looks really good, and that obviously puts him in good stead for a shot of his own. So, you know, losing the occasional fight at heavyweight is to be expected, especially because they hit so hard.